Hello, I'm Ryan Gerber, Hunter Product Specialist here at Hunter Engineering. Today we're going to cover some basic operational procedures with Hunter's new Ultimate ADAS. Hunter's Ultimate ADAS is based off of Hunter's WinAlign system. Many of you are going to be very familiar with the operation. We can still do wheel alignments, but now we've added the capability of adding ADAS target placement all around the vehicle. So let's start with, how do we begin? So the first thing that we need to do is power on our sensors. What we'll do is we'll open the cabinet door on the sensor tower on this side, simply press the button on the power supply for a moment. You will see that it comes on, and you can verify with the green light on the PC that it's on. In just a moment, the sensor tower will pair with the console and the display will come on. Once the sensor tower and console are powered up, the laser gimbals will go through a series of movements to initialize. Give it just a moment before continuing. At this point, you'll see some very familiar screens. Here we'll begin alignment just like we would with any of Hunter's WinAlign software. I'll begin the alignment, and if I were going to do just a standard wheel alignment with no ADAS procedures, I could continue by picking a vehicle. However, for today's procedure, we're going to do ADAS procedures. To initiate an ADAS procedure, we'll need a VIN. I'm going to use the barcode scanner to capture that VIN and move forward. Once the VIN is entered, you'll have a screen here to make sure that we want to do that ADAS procedure. So I will enable that ADAS procedure, and I will continue without an alignment. We could continue with an alignment if that were part of our procedure. At this point, we need to mount our wheel targets. You will notice a new icon here on the bottom. Hunter's Ultimate ADAS program has opened. You will also see the WinAlign icon is present. Ultimate ADAS will automatically switch to the correct program for seamless operation. Should you need to manually toggle between the programs, it's as simple as clicking on the icon. To progress, we will need to add a qualifier here. We need to know if this is a four-wheel drive or a two-wheel drive. I'll choose the appropriate four-wheel drive model for this process. With this screen, we will choose what ADAS calibrations we need to do. We can either check those individually or drop down one row on the menu and select all. Returning to the top menu and confirming those calibrations. Now we're ready to compensate the vehicle. Once the vehicle is compensated, be sure to chock the wheels so the vehicle doesn't move at any time during the procedures. Now that we've returned to the Start Calibration screen, let's talk about an important thing that we would want to do. Every morning, you will be prompted to do an ADAS gimbal calibration check. Let's go ahead and walk through that so you're familiar with it. Dropping down one row of keys, you'll see a calibration check. Simply click that. Our first step is determining home position. Take note of the camera beam and floor plane on-screen graphics. These will go through a progression from red to yellow to green as wheel targets are acquired and floor plane is calculated. You may see this progression at different times when moving the sensor tower or blocking camera sight. Should this happen, allow the system to reacquire target vision and recalculate the floor plane to green before continuing. Regarding home position, always follow the on-screen instructions and graphics to ensure that you're in the proper location. Ultimate ADAS will go to its calibration check height. It will instruct you to mount the targets that we've already mounted, and we will now do the calibration check. This is where the red lasers will come out and point at the front wheel targets on the top and the bottom and make a measurement. If the cameras and gimbals are in agreement, then you will get a pass on the screen and you can continue on. Let's talk about the accessories that will come with your Ultimate ADAS. Different manufacturers will require different accessories, but let's cover all of the bases. The first thing that everyone will have is this handheld remote. The handheld remote will control the console remotely so you don't have to walk up and engage with it. The next thing that all of you will have will be this barcode scanner. The barcode scanner will record different QR codes from some of these accessories for the printout and so that we know you use the correct target in the correct place. Everyone will also have a target rail and target carriages. On those carriages, we will have the target boards that mount to them. Then on the target boards, we will actually have those forward-facing camera targets or artwork. If you note on the end of each one of these scrolls, you will see a number. That number will correspond to the on-screen graphics. Also, we have this flat plate radar as well as surround view mats. Surround view mats may be rolled together because there may be more than one mat for a procedure. Again, you will see a number that will match an on-screen graphic as well as QR codes that we will use for our barcode scanner for recording of the correct mat in the correct place. Last but not least, let's talk about the remote stand. The remote stand top will actually move so that you can aim that at the direction that the laser is pointing. The next thing you'll see here is the brake. So the brake will allow the remote stand to be placed level to the vehicle. Also, we need to adjust height. There's a trigger here. Pulling that trigger will allow for that height to be adjusted on the remote stand. You'll notice the remote stand has a receptacle on the front, and you may, depending on OE, have different accessories that will attach to this receptacle. Simply clip those in and continue on. Now let's look at the base of the remote stand. The first thing we want to point out is the bullseye. The bullseye is for the red dot laser. This allows for spot-on placement. Next, we'll have a red line. The red line is to line up with the green line laser that will appear on the floor. Next, you will see these 4 pegs. You may have a procedure where the bottom of a target will need to be put between these pegs for stability. Now that we've covered the basic accessories, let's go ahead and move on to a procedure. First procedure today will be a wide angle camera, signal recognition. Let's begin. We'll command Ultimate ADAS Tower to go to the home position. Next, what we'll do is a rough aligner placement. At this point, our Ultimate ADAS Tower is going to shoot the green lines and red lasers out so that we know approximately where to position Ultimate ADAS in relation to the vehicle. Simply bring the tower between the 2 red dots and inside of the green lines. Next, we'll command Ultimate ADAS to go to the maximum height position. At this point, we'll want to check for clear space. Ultimate ADAS will go ahead and lay out our area. As we can see, we have a red dot here with a green line and a red dot on the passenger side with the green line as well. So as long as we have no obstructions within that area, we can proceed. Our next step will be to mount a target board and a target ID number 48. In preparation for this, I will move the laser remote stand interface down to an easier height. I will mount the target board to the laser remote stand, and then following the on-screen instructions, I will mount target number 48 onto the stand. And scan in the target ID to progress. We'll check that we have room to place our target here with the red laser, and we'll also take a floor height measurement. At this point, we'll go ahead and roughly place the stand. Following the on-screen instructions, I will roughly place the height to zone B. Height adjustments are made by simply pulling in on the levers on the side of the stand and using the yellow marker to get to zone B. Our next step in the procedure, you'll use the knobs on the back of the laser remote stand to bring the bubble levels into level. Once level has been achieved on the bubbles, we'll continue. Next to the bubble levels, you will find a red button. Turning that button on will project a red crosshaired laser. That red crosshaired laser will then be lined up following the on-screen instructions. Final height adjustment of the laser remote stand is achieved by engaging the levers on the handles and picking up on the target board until the red dot laser from Ultimate ADAS Tower is in the center of the two red lines on the right handle. Ultimate ADAS will confirm that we have placed the laser remote stand at the correct height. Ultimate ADAS will now display with the red lasers approximately where the tower will be placed. We will now take a measurement of the floor height where the tower will end up. Once that measurement has been made, we will place the tower. Placement of the tower is as easy as lining up the red lasers and the white capsules on the base. Now we'll mount the target boards as directed on screen. Ultimate ADAS now instructs us to mount target number 48 on the left. And 48 on the right. Once target placement on the rail is achieved, you will note the red X goes to a green check mark. Ultimate ADAS Tower will automatically adjust to the correct height. Now we'll set our lateral offset with the targets. I will simply bring the target out to my left, watching the X, which will turn into a pointer, and then in the bar graph I will just keep pushing until I get it to the green. If I overshoot, it's easy to bring it back. Once that's achieved, I can go ahead and do my next one. At this point, Ultimate ADAS will go ahead and roll, pitch, and yaw for orientation. You are prepared now to complete the wide angle camera single recognition calibration. Once the calibration is complete, finish everything off by sending all of these results to HunterNet. For this procedure, we're going to do the lane change camera. Let's begin. Start the calibration by home position. Next, we'll do a rough placement of the aligner. Ultimate ADAS is going to show on the floor a couple of red dots in between the green lines, and we're simply going to bring the tower for the aligner into position to help us later in the procedure. Next, we'll set max aligner height, and we'll display clear space to make sure that we have the room needed to accomplish the calibrations. After we verify that clear space, we're going to go ahead and mount our target board and target number 49. We'll go ahead and use our barcode scanner to record what target we're using. Next, we'll check for the area where we're going to place the target. Once we've verified that, we'll do a rough placement. Once we've achieved that, we'll do a rough height placement. It's telling me to go to D. Lift up to D. We'll go ahead and level out our laser remote stand following the on-screen instructions. And we'll do a fine placement. So I turn on the laser and follow the on-screen instructions to place my laser remote stand. Next, we'll do our height adjustment on the laser remote stand. And we'll confirm the correct height. Mount the adapter onto the post. Next, we'll check to make sure that we have appropriate placement here. Nothing in the way, we can continue. We'll measure the floor height there. And following the on-screen instructions, we'll go ahead and place our fixture, lining the crosshairs up and the line on the stand, the base of the stand with the green line. To rough level our target stand, simply aim the top of the target stand roughly at the red laser gimbal, release the target stand here with the switch, aim that red laser directly at the target on the stand. Once you've achieved that, relock the target. Next, we'll do the fine leveling. At this point, the red dot laser will be flashing, making a measurement at each flash. Simply move up and down on the red vertical line until the flashing stops. Once the flashing stops, you've achieved fine level. Next, we'll do the height adjustment. We're going to bring that red laser into the collar here on our stand. We've achieved the correct height. Now we'll mount our target. Following the on-screen instructions, I'm going to mount target 50. And record that for documentation. At this point, we've placed all the targets for the lane change camera. Simply finish the calibration and then send all of the documentation and results to HunterNet 2. Thank you.